Ivona spent the last trimester of her pregnancy at home. Her worst memories are the days when her husband, who had a cold, accompanied her. He only had a runny nose and a cough, and he acted as if he couldn't turn from one side to the other, says a young mother in her 30s. That's why I never work from home. I don't feel like serving a prince who doesn't get up from the couch all day because of a runny nose. He talks about the charms of remote work with a partner by Beata's side. So what do couples stuck under the same roof due to illness often argue about? Syrup is the worst. I don't know how you can sit at home all day and not even turn on the dishwasher. A 30-year-old wife complains about her partner's laziness. For Ivona, the last weeks of pregnancy were difficult. My husband was sneezing, coughing, and complaining about how hard it was for him. Because I didn't have a giant belly, right? Recalls the mother of 3-month-old Frank. What do couples stuck under the same roof due to illness often argue about? I do not make such a fuss or mess around me when I am sick. My spouse is my opposite. Daria sums up her partner. Being cold, we can continue to perform our official duties. However, the ability to work from home may interfere with our private lives. Especially when our husband or wife is also sick. What do couples stuck under the same roof due to illness often argue about? A man comes to the doctor. Ivona has a bad memory of the end of her pregnancy, at least not for health reasons. She worked until the 3rd trimester. Then, she spent the last days before giving birth at home in her husband's company. He had a cold. He only had a runny nose and a cough and acted as if he could not turn from one side to the other, says the young mother, now 30. The fact that he had gone to the doctor twice for a cold surprised her. Runny nose is not a disease, and certainly not a reason to fly to a clinic full of germs when you have a pregnant wife at home, says Ivona with resentment. Unfortunately, my husband likes to dramatize. If he doesn't get enough sleep, he's worse than a child, adds the Varsovian with a sneer. He rushes to the doctor with every little thing. Even once, the doctor told him that he complained too much. She didn't want to issue him a sick leave because he didn't even have a fever, recalls Ivona. My husband was sneezing, coughing, and repeatedly repeating how hard it was for him. Because I didn't have a giant belly, right? The 30-year-old sneers. Daria's husband also uses the advice of an internist very often. He says going to the doctor calms him down. I don't want to infect the children and me. So even with a slight cough, he ends up in the internist's office. The 35-year-old wife explains her husband's behavior. It's a pity that his concern for us doesn't translate into household chores, he adds angrily. Syrup is the worst. I don't know how you can sit at home all day and not even turn on the dishwasher. He complains about his partner's laziness. If I had this attitude, the children would be hungry and dirty, sums up the working mother. He says, I do. Beata loves her husband more than life, but she has been fighting his laziness for years. That's why I never work from home. I don't feel like serving a prince who doesn't get up from the sofa all day because of a runny nose, she says about her husband's reprehensible behavior. They have been together for 15 years. Her beloved never sinned with a passion for a vacuum cleaner or a mop. However, her behavior at home on sick leave can throw her off balance. I remember when we all had strep throat. Me, my husband, and children. It was hardcore. Beata returns to her illness from a year ago. The children ran a fever, but my husband was still whining. He did not help with cooking and cleaning and gave me orders from the couch. And he dreamed of hot tea with raspberry juice, and he would eat the warm broth. In short, he was talking, and I was constantly doing something. He never asked if he could help me with anything, although I also suffered from strep throat. Another time he told Beata to go with her younger daughter for a walk, because she is less sick than him. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She sums up her partner's selfishness. I'd rather babysit a child than a husband, she adds. It won't clean itself. Daria is of a similar opinion. I do not make such a fuss or mess around me when I am sick. My husband is my opposite. He talks about the charms of being ill with a 28-year-old husband under one roof. Once, they both took a remote job at the same time. Their son had rotavirus. They didn't want to infect anyone at work. She thought they were going to look after a whiny 3-year-old together. Unfortunately, her husband did not take this scenario into account. He was shouting from the morning that he had important meetings that he had to prepare for. For this reason, he could not put on the laundry, turn on the dishwasher or even glance at his son for a minute, recalls Daria's remote work with her husband. She also has obligations to the employer, from which remote work does not relieve her. In addition, the child needs to eat and take medicine. In the end, she, too, was nervous. After 5 hours of combining work with caring for a sick child, I told my husband he was selfish. Then, in a loud voice, I reminded him that the kitchen would not clean itself, cook dinner, and the child would not heal. She recalls the quarrel with her husband. How did her husband react to her remarks? He apologized to me and admitted I was right. After that, he took care of my son for the last 2 hours of my work, and I was able to catch up in peace, she explains. At the same time, she emphasizes that it was the first and last time she decided to work remotely with her husband and sick child by her side. Sometimes apart is better than together, she says.